Welcome to the Rest of Us podcast. I have the newly promoted Atos purple belt, Stephanie Lightfoot. Stephanie Light.
No, I'll take Lightfoot.
Lightfoot, yes. If you don't understand why this is so funny, then you should look at the first podcast that she was on with the rest of us. And so what's the difference between being a blue belt and a purple belt? Tell me, because I may never know.
Oh, God, it's been 2 days already, and I already feel drunk with power.
You just walk in with the best color belt in the entire
Yes, it is
jiu-jitsu.
my favorite color also, so it really helps out.
It's my favorite color. Apparently, so like if you were doing like minimum time and not winning worlds at adult, I think it's like 2 years at blue belt, a year and a half at purple, a year at brown at the minimum if you're not winning adult worlds. And my request out there to anyone who trains me is, please, I want to be the shortest amount at brown belt because I just want to be purple or black because I'm a girl and I'm like, brown's just so ugly. Who decided that? Purple's the prettiest belt color. Uh-huh. It looks so good.
Yes, I think Bruno gave me the best shade of purple too. So
that's a real thing.
And it's a new Atos belt as well, so it's new and stylish and.
It's like purple jewel tone, and this is a real thing because my blue belt was one of the robin egg blue belts. Mm-hmm. So everyone's like, are you a gray belt? Because after you wash it 7,000 times, it is now a gray belt. And then I also have like my backup belt. Did you ever have extra belts in?
Yes, as a blue belt I did.
How many belts did you have?
Just 2, because the first one that Bruno promoted me with was so short. It was so short, it just kind of like came up to like barely my hip.
To be fair, if you saw her, like we were in the same weight class for the most part, I think. And I'm like, people will be like, Stephanie, the skinny girl. And I'm like, we're the same weight class. But I would also probably accidentally give you a small belt because I would think that you're 1 or 2 weight classes below me for whatever reason.
Yeah. Well, Bruno learned his lesson this time.
The funny thing about jiu-jitsu is you can look at your friends and be like, I think your weight is, and it's only mildly offensive. Men mad if you don't say that they're bigger than they are, and women, I don't know if women actually get mad. I don't know. I think it's not
from my experience. I feel like now that I train and weight is like such a huge thing, I don't get offended like at all. I'm like, if they ask me how much I weigh, I'm like, I'm 130, barely on a good day.
I mean, also you're doing a sport where there are weight classes called heavy, medium heavy, super heavy, ultra heavy. And you're just like a normal average woman. So Lucas is super heavy. Super. He's the one. But if you went up one more weight class, it would be ultra. Yeah. Which is always the joke about why you should cut down from 220. Because after that, it's the like open class, basically. Mm-hmm. And you could be going against someone who's 280 because you decided to be 222 that day. So I feel like there's a huge difference between my weight classes. It's also weird. I feel like it would be less weird. Like, I actually really like the new breed weight classes because I never think about it or worry about it. But, like, I have to be, like, on top of my shit for the IBJJF weight classes, and it's about a 4-pound difference.
Yeah, they're very strict, too.
Yeah. It's also because being a woman, your body weight changes 5 pounds during the course of the month, depending on what time of the month that it is. So,
Shut up, Lucas.
Shut up, Lucas. And you know what? Because I'm an amateur, makes no money at this, and I'm paying for these competitions, I am not going to starve myself. So this is the things that you learn between blue belt and ultra blue belt. Tell you a
veteran blue belt.
A veteran. Have you ever heard of the term terminal lance? I did a joke on Instagram on Halloween because you could do those like modified spirit costumes, and I did a terminal blue belt because
yes, I did.
There was a cartoon strip 10 years ago when Lucas was in the military or got out of the military. What, 14 years now? Oh my God. It's like 14 years ago. So there is this comic strip called Terminal Lance, and Lance Corporal is a rank in the Marine Corps. It's
just below a non-commissioned officer.
It's just below a non-commissioned officer. So most people who do 4 years would get out at like E4. Lance Corporal was E3. So if you got out and you were like a Lance Corporal, then you were a little bit of a like
a shitbird?
What is it?
A shitbird.
A shitbird. Okay.
Shitbird.
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah. I don't either.
I don't know what that means.
I don't understand military men.
It's a shitbird.
A shit bird. I was going to say floozy, but that means you sleep with people, and I'm like, that is not correct. But if you were like a person who's like getting
Marines were floozies.
All Marines were floozies, is what Lucas said. But if you were like somebody who Like what? You got NJP'd a couple times. Shitbird. Like you didn't do your, what were those stupid, like the, when you had to do those fake college courses. NCO courses. Like you'd have to do, they'd had like almost like a homeschool program of packets of whatever to like pick up. And then they had a certain cutting score. But even if you were in a MOS, which is like whatever your job is, even if you were in an MOS that was hard to pick up on, and you you should still hit E4 by the time you get out. A terminal lance is someone who only made it to E3 and then got out of the military. So that's where the terminal blue belt thing comes from, because
That
the
makes
terminal
total
lance.
sense.
Or somebody who made E4 did something wrong, and then they bumped them back down.
Yeah. Either way, it was a comic strip, and you could tell that there's kind of a vibe to, like, if you're a terminal lance, you are not a model citizen. So terminal blue belt is my new favorite thing. A couple of my other friends that trained at my old gym, we toast to being terminal blue belts. So
Gonna love that.
yeah, Lucas's friend that we know from the military, who also trains jiu-jitsu now, he actually trained jiu-jitsu for I think like 8 years or something. He's at a really good program in New Jersey. He is also follows the podcast, so he'll love that, along with however many veterans.
Nice little shout out.
Nice little shout out. So you got to shout out one of your
Boy, Rusty.
300 listeners. It's getting better. So yeah, if you're listening, thank you so much. Feel free to comment in the Spotify comments, even if you're just by yourself, because we would love that. So I will shout you out just for that. Anyway, so yeah, you feel more powerful. Did you experience anything different training?
So I did train today for the first time since I got promoted.
48 hours ago.
48 hours ago.
You made it sound like you hadn't trained in like 2 months.
Oh, I even made a joke about it. I was like, oh, man, because two other people got their purple belts, and then 2 people got their blue belts that day. And today, one of the newer blue belts came into class today.
Like a 48-hour blue belt?
48-hour blue belt. He
Hey,
was
they
like
came
talking
back.
so much. Yeah, that's true. That's true. He didn't do the blue belt booze like I did.
God bless. This guy came
I know
back.
when I left that night on Wednesday night, as I was saying bye to Bruno, I was like, all right, Bruno, it's time for me to take my 2-year break, and he, the dead serious face, just looked at me and like, absolutely not. He was just not having it. He was not happy with that joke. Because as soon as I got my blue belt, I was supposed to say it the first time, but as soon as I got my blue belt, I did take a break a little bit, because blue belt blues are real.
Also, you trained through COVID, kind of.
I did train through COVID.
You started
yeah.
before COVID and after, and I feel like that naturally would cause.
I was training twice a
disruption.
day, almost every day. I really worked so hard for my blue belt, and then as soon as I got it, I was like, oh, peace, like
How long did it take you to get a blue belt?
With Bruno, it took me 6 months, but I was at Knuckle Up first for a year, but then COVID hit.
It's funny you say that, because I started another gym, and I don't even count the 8 weeks that I spent there. 8 to 12. It was like
8 to 12 weeks is not that bad, but a year, I was there for a year.
Yeah, that's notable. I actually could also say it's like 8 to 16. Like it was confusing, because I'm like, we started at the end of summer, but then there was like Thanksgiving break and like Christmas break, and then we weren't really going to classes regularly, and it wasn't like we were training like we train now. So I feel like it was like probably 8 combined weeks, 1 day a week, and like some of the technique we learned is like you're getting choked against a wall in a bar and like getting out of it. So it wasn't anything that really transferred over into
Competitive
jiu-jitsu. So that's why I don't really count it, because I'm like, if I was a woman who took
Okay,
a self-defense
that's fair.
class that was like somewhere else, and they're like, oh, this is like how you're doing, like evading this or that, I'm like, that's what I felt like it was most similar to. Although there were a couple things. I mean, like you learn a mount escape, you learn like a standing arm bar, which I kind of wish that I knew still, because like people reach out to like, start wrestling, and I'm like, actually, some of that kind of stuff I do kind of miss, and I'm like, I should kind of revisit. It's like the old school Gracie stuff, which is still valid. It still works. It's just, the sport has evolved so much since like a lot of that stuff, in my opinion, compared to like the way that I've learned arm bars now versus the way that I learned like the Gracie University arm bar is a little bit different. Yeah,
I get
so
that.
I don't count that as well. So you just got back from Colorado, which is...
I did. I was there for about 2 2 months working.
west of Texas, and she was working for 2 months, and she's leaving us, which is actually the secret to getting a purple belt. Is just
Yeah. Soon.
she made
So
Bruno
fun.
laugh in her. I was there, by the way. I took
acceptance
pictures.
speech.
Why was
my
her
acceptance
friend with a
speech.
camera all of a sudden at the gym that she trains at one night? Because I just wanted to get some gi rolls in, and I don't normally get some gi rolls in.
It's not because I told you that I was getting promoted at all.
To be fair, you said you maybe might. There was a hint of
might be.
promotions in general, and even if she didn't get promoted, I would have caught the other promotions, which would have been lovely.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I just like taking pictures of people at other gyms. I also feel like I knew of our group of girls that trained together. I'm like, I feel like I knew like 70% of you guys anyway. So I'm like, it's always nice to visit friends at other gyms.
Mm-hmm. That was a good class too.
Yeah, I've only
liked it a
done
lot.
girls. I've been there for girls and geese, and that might have actually been the only time that I've been there. I feel
In the
like
seminar
the seminar. I was like, why do I think it was twice? It was the seminar, and then I went there.
that
for
I
Girls
also
and Geese.
invited you to.
The seminar. Well, the first one, Girls and Geese, I had a broken toe.
Yeah, I remember that.
R.I.P. that broken toe. It like comes up so often for something that was only 7 weeks of my life. This fucked up wrist has actually taken longer than my toe did, and I thought the toe was gonna take forever. And then everyone always shows me their broken knuckle that they're still rolling with, and I'm like, I don't even know how you people do this. I can't have
either.
a fat knuckle. No.
It happens though,
Yeah.
especially in the gi.
Like,
Gi fingers is a real thing.
how many times have you trained in gi? Oh, because you were training in Denver, right?
Yes, so I trained at this place called Logos in Denver. So Michael Liera is the head professor there. He's an Andre Galval black belt.
And that's
and
like
he-
the main Atos person.
Yes,
Yes, like headquarters Atos.
headquarters.
Although, okay, I only found this out like recently that Galvao and Mika Galvao are not related.
Not related, no.
I just assumed that was the brother of like Sarah Galvao, and I don't like only in like in the last 6 months did I find that to be not the case.
Rachel's clearly uncultured.
I'm not cultured. I don't like. I mean, also, how dare you guys have the same name? How dare
How
you
dare
all
you have the same last
How
name?
dare you have the Smith version of like the Brazilians? Yeah, so that was like news to me, and I sat there and I'm like, glad I never voiced that to
Yeah.
anybody. But if anyone out there is like ever watching these IBJJF highlights and you see like Sarah Galvao out there destroying everybody and then Mika Galvao, they're not actually related.
No, they're not. But
And the
they're
main,
dope.
what's Sarah's dad's name?
Andre?
Andre Galvao. So he is a black belt under Andre Galvao.
Yes. So he and his sister Elizabeth, they run the gym in Denver. They also have one in Westminster, which is about a little bit north of Denver. So I stayed in Lakewood, which is I want to say like southwest Denver. Denver is very like it's kind of like Atlanta.
It's like a plateau,
the
too.
Denver, area.
Yeah. So everything's like you're talking about is within an hour of Denver.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's
Maybe
like from
like
here to
20
Alpharetta,
minutes.
so we're still calling it Atlanta.
Exactly. So yeah, he is an Andre Galvao black belt. He opened that gym just a couple years ago, I believe. Don't quote me on how many years because I can't remember. But I first met him in July, I think, when I went there for the first time. And how I discovered him was through a teammate of mine and through Bruno. I was, I didn't know where I was going to train there because I still wanted to train, while I was visiting anywhere else because I usually do.
We do too. We like to drop in and just
Yeah,
like,
me too. You get to know people and different styles of jiu-jitsu, and it's wonderful, especially for an introvert like me.
Also, you see so many people we have like the same competitions every year. There's World Masters every year. There's PANS every single year. So somehow you're traveling to all these places. So even if your friend moves like 9 states, like if they compete at all, you're probably going to see them again.
Yeah,
So what's
absolutely.
really nice about cross training when you visit a place is like you guys all show up at PANS and your like friend from Arkansas is now in Florida and you guys couldn't see each other and like grab dinner. So that's nice about like the community. So I recommend.
small world, yeah.
Yeah. Well, so the first time that you went, did you just train like a couple times or one time during the vacation, and then now you actually because you had to work there?
No, the first time I was there for a month. And I needed some type of exercise because my job is, pretty stressful. I work for an HVAC company now, so I'm an office manager there, and dealing with some technicians sometimes is so annoying.
It's very stressful.
And I'm sitting at an office all day now, and I'm not used to that. So I need some relief, I guess. And so as soon as I went there, I first went to a no-gi class because I didn't want to bring a gi with me. So I was
This
like,
is the thing about traveling is if you want
Dude,
to drop
seriously.
in, you are dropping in a no-gi, so
dropping
you
in.
better learn legs. Like, because you are not packing a 5-pound gi and
No,
your belt
not at all.
and
I
then
didn't do
bring
it.
home a dirty gi if you don't have laundry.
Yeah, luckily I do. When I would travel, I always make sure I washer and dryer because specifically for jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
But
it really changes the way like your life revolves around laundry in the sport.
it really does. It's so fucking annoying. But yeah, so the first class I had with him was no-gi, and I really like his instruction because he's very like smooth with his words, and I don't know, I can't explain how he explains things. Like, I just can't wait for you guys to visit me so you can
Yay.
come train with me. And I have a condo now, so
We've actually Lucas's ex-wife lived in Colorado or lives in Colorado.
She lived in,
Colorado Springs,
Colorado
though.
Springs.
Yeah.
oh, that's like an hour and a half away. You're good.
We're not going to cross paths. Also, that would
Speak, or whatever it is.
that would be crazy to cross paths with someone in the same state. That would, like, even if you were in the same city, it would be still be
Probably see her
crazy.
at, working on the Starbucks.
And Costco. You told me she worked at a Costco last.
Oh, I thought she worked at Starbucks.
I don't know if you guys know this, but I am crazy on the internet. So like,
Jesus Christ.
I don't
Rachel.
know if you can tell that Rachel's creepy, but she could tell where his ex-wife worked. I'm not bitter 16 years later that I'm not his first wife.
Anyway.
Anyway.
Down there, Chili.
Does she know
That's a great segue into dating in Denver.
dating in Denver?
Let me tell you, dating in Denver sucks. Let
Okay.
me tell you.
People say this about like people.
Okay, yes, dating anywhere sucks. But dating in Denver, where all the hipsters are?
People say dating in Atlanta sucks, then people say, like, my friend moved to New York and she's like, dating in New York sucks. And then I'm like, I think dating in 2024 is trash.
Yeah, there's just a lot of emotionally unavailable men.
Okay, but do you find more emotionally unavailable men in Denver over Atlanta?
We keep on using that term, but I don't think that you guys are.
Lucas just said you can't hear because he's not mic'd up, and we decided that he was.
I heard it.
He said we keep using the term emotionally unavailable.
Do you want me to define it for you?
I mean, like, you can define it for us, but, like, how do we say it to where when the men hear it, they can go.
Okay, so if you had to what do you call it? Translate for men what emotionally unavailable means. What would you
But
say?
Emotionally translate it so that way when a man hears that, they can go.
Translate it and
I
let's see if
see what that
Lucas
means.
understands it.
I mean, like,
Okay.
all it sounds like is just like an insult, really. It doesn't really sound like you're actually being.
Lucas is saying emotionally unavailable. I won't have to repeat everything just because it's like when you repeat a question in a news conference with someone who's not mic'd up. But he's saying that repeat it as if, what did you just say? He was like,
Just speak into the
Just
mic,
speak into the
Lucas.
mic.
So when you say emotionally unavailable men, I get it. I understand what you guys are saying. But what a lot of people are hearing is just like in a form of you guys. It kind of seems like it's just like an insult. You're not actually like there's sure. I mean, like we can be insulting, but like when you insult people, like you're not really gonna get anywhere. So
That's right.
what does it mean? Like, what does it mean to be emotionally unavailable? Like, do you mean just to you? Do you mean like just to, like in general? Is this person like such a recluse that they just run outside and go, "Hey, let's have sex," and then they run back inside? Like, what is it that means like emotionally unavailable? I understand what it means, but you have to break that down for people who are listening to be like, okay, what the fuck are you talking about?
I think
like, what was the thing that when you're sitting in a date and you're like, this guy's emotionally unavailable? What's an example? I know what I'm going to say, but you go first because I'm married. So I'm like, I don't think my word weighs as much.
okay. Well, maybe specifically, this specific example that
Your
what,
word doesn't
Lucas?
weigh that much because you have a man who has been emotionally available to you. So I think you can understand it, but she's someone who's going through it. So to be able to explain it and what you're looking for is important. You know what I mean?
How do you know I wasn't going to use you as an example?
I love the shit out of you, woman. Shut the fuck up.
All right, guys.
Okay. Back to what our guest has to say about this.
Back to my definition of emotionally unavailable. So I don't really use it in an insulting way because everyone has their own shit going on. And when I first got there, I was also emotionally unavailable. And what I mean by that is like, I was not ready for a relationship. I recently just got out of a relationship in March. I was just looking for fun, and that's totally fine. But I still counted myself as emotionally unavailable because at the time I was not able to meet people's emotional needs. It was just physical for me. And on the other side of that with men, it's like kind of the same.
They like to stay on the physical side.
They just really want to stay on the physical side, and that's totally fine. Like there are people that I met and went on dates with that were also, recently out of a relationship, and we had great conversation. We weren't expecting anything.
Do they say that? Like, how does this conversation go down in like an actual?
I am very particular on a first date, I guess.
Because Lucas and I haven't dated in 16 years, so we don't even know how to behave, even with each other.
I've definitely had to take my dating more seriously and change my perspectives a little bit.
What do you mean by that?
I will tell you what I mean by that. I'm really excited to talk about it, actually, because I haven't really been able to. But I really changed my perspectives, and the biggest thing for me a few years ago, per se, before I started dating my most recent ex, I took everything personally. Like everything was like, oh, that's me. That all has to do about me. And even not in dating, just things with friendships and my relationships with my parents. Like
you start looking around and you're like, there's a common denominator here.
Yeah. I was the common denominator. I mean, it takes a lot to admit that. Like,
no,
it really does.
I love honesty. Like, I would rather have that any day of the week.
Yeah.
I also
so
might be
I
on
feel
the
like
autism spectrum. So I'm like, yeah, God, please tell me. Let's not dress her up. This is why we get along so well.
Yeah.
I say that not in like a demeaning, like, haha, wait, I took like 3 different tests from 3 different websites and they all told me I was on the spectrum.
I also will add this to, I understand that and it makes sense, but I want everyone to know, like out there, like when they hear that, a lot of times not everything is about you.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that when you have somebody who's going through something, or if they're frustrated, they're not actually frustrated or mad with you or something you did. It's just about
internal.
Yeah, it's just like life in general. And they're like, well,
yeah,
because
everyone has their own shit going on.
And then you're like, well, why are they upset? And then for some reason, a lot of us who grew up in different types of homes, like I grew up in a broken home, I always think that, oh, I must have done something. I must have messed something up. I must have hurt them in some way. Instead of them being like, no, the fucking 4 gas pumps were broken this morning. My tire went flat. And then when I was on my way to work, they canceled the job. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh, so you wasted 6 hours of your life. And you're like, I would rather have done something. And I'm on my way home and I'm upset. Yeah. And I'm like thinking, oh, I fucked up their life. Instead, it's really not about you at all. It's just
no, it's not.
You just gotta, and that's
99% of the time, it's not about you.
99% of the time, like it's kind of like when people are like thinking of embarrassing moments, and they're like, oh man, they like I'm so embarrassed. They still remember. They know who I am. Most of the time, they have no idea that you did that weird thing that you were so embarrassed about. And you're like 15 years later and you're like, oh my God, I can't.
You still think about it. It still haunts you.
Yeah, you're like falling asleep and you're like, thanks, brain, for bringing that back to.
Yeah, for real.
Back to my memory.
Yeah, I think definitely that, not taking things personally. And that has helped me just in general for life.
But we also live in a world where, people used to do vague MySpace bulletins.
Yeah, very
15
true.
years ago.
And also, texting and dating is huge now, even with people you barely know. And I am a huge texter, so I would, I don't know, I was obsessed with it, basically.
You're saying this to your friend who literally, she'll say something and then I'll write her like 9 paragraphs back. It's my fatal flaw is that I don't know how to be concise. And
No, I love it. I don't care.
But it's funny because I'm married to someone who literally I'll be like, hey, I'm leaving at this time. Okay, I think I need to do the podcast at this time. This is what I have going on tomorrow. And Lucas just goes, okay, no punctuation. And I'm like, I know he's not mad because I know guys just text like that. And it's not all guys because some guys are actually pretty decent at texting. But like my husband specifically is the type of person who texts like that.
Yeah, and I think it's online dating is really hard because you meet through texting and through messaging each other. And with this one guy, I was kind of hesitant on him at first because he wasn't a great, quote unquote, great texter, at least in my terms. He was kind of dry a little bit at first, but the moment I met him in person,
no emojis,
no nothing. But when I met him in person, it was completely different. And we went on several dates and still talking now. And he's just very different, like in texting versus in person.
This is a real thing, though, because Lucas and I have had this theory that online dating actually really suits people who are kind of antisocial in real life. Because Lucas is not a great texter, but in person, he's like so personable, gets along with everybody. Lucas can like strike up a conversation with 9 people at a bar that he doesn't know. And you wouldn't be able to tell that from his texting. But then there's people who can like bare their soul on like a text message and then they
can't conversation.
They can't look you in the eye in like real life. Like there's like, and it's so interesting to me because I'm like, there's so many people who are comfortable. And then that platform, like online dating, really caters to people who can take pictures and look good in them. Because some women can't. I know some very beautiful women who just do not look like influencers in photos. And then I know women who like take really good pictures and like, sure, like let's just throw out the AI software for a second where like they're changing their jawline and all that kind of stuff. But like there are some women who just photograph really well, but then like you look at them in real life and they don't really look like their photo. But those women also like do really well on like internet dating. And like then I have friends who I'm like, yeah, they like take a picture and they kind of look a little whatever. Like me, I don't feel like and I'm not saying that like in a derogatory way, but as someone who takes pictures of other people and then I've had to take headshots like every year since I've been an actor for like over a decade, I just know that there are some people who are very good at taking pictures and like not. And I'm like, I just feel like certain mediums and platforms suit certain people. And unfortunately in 2024, it is online dating. So
yeah,
he's great in person.
I've had great dates from online dating from many years I've been doing it, and horrible dates. Like the first date I went on, I was waiting to tell you this on the podcast.
Yes, tell me a bad date. We love a bad date story.
So the first date I went on, in Denver, we went to this bar, which was also already a red flag. Dive bar on a first date, red flag.
Is it really? Okay, wait.
I'm just kidding.
We'll talk about husband hunting in a second. Okay. But you go to...
But no, it was a trashy... Like, I mean,
like
I didn't know in Denver.
He was like, hey, let's go.
Let's go to this bar. I go here all the time.
And there's like cigarette smoking pool tables.
You could smoke inside, yeah. And it was just a trashy bar.
In Colorado? Mm-hmm. The West Coast still does that?
One bar did. I don't know.
It's
I don't even remember the name of it, to be quite honest. I wanted to.
They don't even do that in... I mean, they did that in Georgia in a few bars when we first moved here, but then they banned it. Thank God.
Yeah. I hated it. Well, that was the first, great. And this
is like the communism I'm here for. It's like, I don't want smoking in bars. No, really though. I mean, like, I am one of those like people who left California because I'm like, I hate everybody being in your shit. And then I moved to Georgia where people still smoked in bars, and I'm like, ew, I miss communism. So anyway, they're smoking in a bar in Colorado.
Yes, we went to this bar, and we were talking at first, and it was lighthearted conversation, like, oh, where are you from? Oh, go to school, blah blah blah. He was from like Pennsylvania, I believe, and he moved there, I think when he was like 10. I think that's what he said. I can't honestly remember much, but
she's a great listener on dates.
Well, it's not even that. It's just as soon as I left that date, I was like, I never want to talk about this ever again.
Is it because
unless there was a podcast and a martini in my hand?
This is actually how we lube these ladies up, is with these martinis.
Oh, man.
Actually, we did that to Kenny too, so I can't just...
All right, Lucas, are you ready for this horrible date story?
We love a horrible date story.
All right, so we're talking. We're just small
at
talk
a dive
at first.
Bar.
Small talk at first. Oh, how long have you been single? How long? The basic first date questions. And then this man starts complaining about a lot of the women in Colorado, and
Red flag, man.
red flag. Yeah, he's like, the line that got me was, I'm just always going to be single while I'm in Colorado. And I was just like, why is that? Why do you think? And he was like, because
Not because of me.
I will never date a woman who has had an abortion, and every woman in Colorado has had an abortion.
This is
Yes.
I mean, if you're listening, you're like, I don't know why my first dates aren't going well.
Yeah.
Coming in hot.
That was our first date. 10 minutes into a conversation. That's what he says.
Okay,
he
so-
just starts talking about abortion.
That's
I
coming in hot.
did not know
Pull up.
what to say.
Pull up. Pull up.
Lucas is like on a joystick. I got a book for free from the library through Hoopla, which is like a electronic platform through the library. And the book is How to Small Talk. Because I don't
Because you're autistic.
Because I don't have good social skills, okay? I don't have a real
It's a
diagnosis.
learned thing.
I've
It's
also
a
never
learned
been to a
thing.
therapist. So according to me, my online self-diagnosis, this book came up on small talk, and I was like, you know what? Like, let me read it. And I read like the first chapter, and I'm like only a chapter in, and one of the things that it said is like, oh, like talk about this and that, but like no, not too strong of opinions right here. You got to feel them out, and then you come in with the strong opinions.
No.
So I'm like, if only this guy read the small talk book.
If only he had. But after he said that, it took me. I was like, no way he just said that.
You're like, are you a caricature?
No way. And I just looked at his face, and he was just dead serious. And I was like, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't really know how to feel about that.
Well, you know what's weird is like on your online dating profile, it has your worldview on it, right? Like it's got like your political view, it has your like religion.
So yes. You can usually filter them out, but you have to pay for that, and I'm not gonna do that.
But like, don't you have yours on your profile though? So it's not like he's going into this blind, being like, oh my gosh.
No, he
like-
didn't have anything that he was conservative or religious or anything like that on his. So at least not that I can remember.
But I feel like he should know that about you when you're having a conversation, because like even if you're in a conversation, like let's
yeah,
just
but
say,
even on my political views, it's moderate. It's not anything else. So
but even I would say moderate, like you would probably know which way
You would
someone
think.
leans. Yeah.
I think, but
Yeah. I feel like that would like structure again. I mean,
not Joey. Sorry,
Look,
Joey.
I'm like 30 pages into this book, but it says that he's wrong. So that's what I'm going to say. Now that I'm an expert because of this best-selling
Yes.
4,137 review book. Okay, so that was
That was the
first date.
worst one.
Okay.
The first and worst. I've had plenty of great dates. I think one of the best dates I went on this wasn't our first date, but we went climbing together. So, because, in Colorado, you got to climb.
Also, Tiana just came on this podcast and she talked about
I know. I loved
bouldering.
it.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's
Accurate.
it's so accurate because you can really tell someone like how they problem solve and like no, seriously, like it's a problem you solve when you climb, and it's like a puzzle basically.
You know what's funny, though? People say this about jiu-jitsu, not to
It
bring
is,
everything
yeah,
back
chess.
to jiu-jitsu.
It's like human chess, yeah.
But I know that, like, here's a personality trait I found out about myself because of jiu-jitsu, and this actually matches up with everything I know about personality tests, is that, like, I am a person who will do a lot of work and be really consistent. And I'm talking, like, months, if not, like, over a year of work on something. Like, acting's a perfect example. I've done it for 12 years. I've done all the classes. I've done improv shows for completely empty rooms. No success. But I also sometimes don't do the extra 6% to hit 100% effort. And that's kind of the thing that holds you back. And I realize this, like, as cheesy as this is, from when I'm competing and you're burnt out at the end of a match. And I actually really had to train my brain both while I'm doing, like, conditioning training and while I'm doing jiu-jitsu. I'm like, Rachel, why are you giving up? Like, why won't you just, like, shoot your hips up a little higher? Why won't you just explode? Like, it's tiring, it's exhausting, and you're not whatever. You're like, there's all these different reasons why you're not doing it. But I'm like, what is your mental stoppage where you just won't give it the extra all the way to the end? Or if you're a person who always makes excuses when you lose. Like, it's one thing if you never make an excuse when you lose, and one time you legitimately had the flu and then you lost. Like, that's one thing. But if you're a person where it's like,
or if you got cheated by the ref, it happens.
yeah. Oh, you like, oh my gosh. And like, there's also like the people who are like, they always complaining about IBJJF. And look, the sport is the game. The game is the rule set. So like, you're going into a game, and I'm like, if you want to bitch about what a home run is or what a foul is in baseball, then you're never going to win that game. So like, I understand that there are, like, when you look at all of the different versions of rule sets, there are more exciting ones. There are more, there are games that like cater to, there are rule sets that cater to certain people's games and not other people's games. And like, there are some people who only compete in a rule set that caters to their own game, which understandably so. Why wouldn't you want to be the best at the thing? But to enter into something and then complain about what the sport actually is, which is the rule set, is just one of those things where you're like, yes, you could be one of the people who can maybe get $1 million from who knows where the fuck Craig Jones got his $1 million from, and then like do that kind of thing and change the game. But then also like, it is what it is, and like you learn to play within like the rule set. You like learn to, you know, okay, well, if this is points based, then we're gonna get better at this. If this is submission only, if this is combat jujitsu, if there's like whatever, like you always have to like kind of adjust to the rule set. People are figuring things out, like all of the different things. But there are certain personalities, and I'm like, even I actually had I got second place for my first second place, and like I had like a lot of gold medals, and then I lost a match. And then placed second. I won my second match. And then 6 hours later, I came down with 102-degree fever. That's not why I lost the match. Like, if I look at it, technically, I got caught in a place that I suck at. Like, and it showed. And that's how I lost. The match that I won, I was, like, exhausted for, and it just was messy. But I still won the match. So I'm like, it shouldn't have looked like that, is, like, where the illness came into. But then you meet people, and it's like, they're always injured when they lose. They're always sick when they lose. Like, they have, like, whatever their thing is. And I'm like, and if you're like that in jiu-jitsu, you might, like, be like that in life about a lot of different things. Or, like, you start to realize people who have a certain type of ego or a certain type of...
Yeah, it's very telling.
Yeah. I mean, we were just talking about coaches' personalities.
And I did actually... one of the dates that I went on was actually someone who trained. Didn't know this until we actually went on the date, because he saw my Archie Suave tattoo.
Oh my God.
And he was
You
like,
did that to yourself.
do you
though.
train? Yeah, of course I did. But not my jiu-jitsu is not on my dating profile, because I've gotten so many comments. Hey, you can't beat me.
Or can you put me in a
blah,
triangle?
blah, blah.
I would love to be surrounded by your
You
legs.
can't choke me out. I'm like, I never said I could, but thank you for proving how insecure you are.
You know what's crazy though? Okay, so I talked to
It's true, Lucas. It's true. Don't you laugh.
This is what's weird though, is I talked to a bunch of friends, female and male, about dating. I don't know why this is like human interaction is like so interesting to me, because my female friends who are single are like trying to find somebody, and the girls are like, God, that's so creepy and weird, and they also have to take their jiu-jitsu stuff off of. But if you spoke like that to a guy, they would think that some of them would say like, oh, that's hot, and I know she's into me, and then she's flirting with me, and I'm like, I think men and women see this whole conversation completely differently.
Mm-hmm. I can see that.
Okay, keep going. Sorry, interrupt for like 1,000 hours.
It's okay. I honestly forgot what I was saying.
You went on a date with a guy you didn't know he trained. He saw your tattoo.
Oh, yes. He asked if I trained, and as soon as he asked me that, I was like, fuck. He trains. Turns out he did, and he recently moved to Denver, so he hadn't like trained at all when he went there, and I was like, cool, well, I train at Logos. Don't come there.
Yeah, because that would be weird, and also you're a three-stripe white belt.
No, he was a brown belt, unfortunately.
So much worse.
I know. We still had a good date though. Like we walked around the park, which was.
Would you stop
like an
dating
ideal-
someone because they did jujitsu?
Not necessarily.
Here's a question: do you think it's weird now that you do jujitsu to date somebody who can't defend themselves at all?
I mean, that was my relationship with my last ex, so yeah.
It is, because I feel like this is like something that because Lucas trains very casually, and before he did jujitsu, he
I'm
was
the best.
Shut the fuck up.
okay. The both of us were like,
He said, "I'm the best."
Destroy you.
these two 125-pound
I'm
women.
a purple belt now, bro.
I can wreck you.
Yeah, I don't know if you understand how rank work, but she's above yours.
I am a purple belt, Lucas. I can beat your ass
So
now.
before we did jujitsu, Lucas was also in the military, and he at least had some training. Like he had.
Excuse me, I have a brown belt. I was about to get my black belt.
He was a brown belt in
so
the
sorry.
Marine Corps.
With ropes and fucking knives, but I sure as shit do.
He something about being a brown belt in the military. They can't grapple. I don't think they can wrestle. He falls into triangles.
Honey,
every single
just
time.
sit there and look pretty.
Yeah, it's so.
I gouge the living shit out of you.
So yeah, if you can eye gouge me as many times as I'll eye gouge you. That's what's gonna happen. So anyway, even before Lucas did his mediocre blue belt jiu-jitsu, he could protect himself as a Marine. And so I do think that something that is hard for women who train is like, not every woman wants to date a dude at a gym because we all know the guys in the gym. But then also it's kind of hard to date someone who doesn't train because
They don't understand.
they don't understand.
And that was my biggest problem with a couple of relationships that I've been with, or like a couple guys that I've talked to. They don't understand it and think it's so sexual. And I'm like, yeah, it looks it. But when you're there, and it's not. That is the last thing that is on my mind. You know?
That's why they call guys gay.
Lucas just said that's why they call guys
Humping
gay.
each other's butts trying to choke each other. Like it's not
69 each other all the time.
Yeah, back control. It's like dick to asshole.
North,
Like,
south. North, south is the
like dick
worst.
to mouth. Like, yeah. Even like Lucas was like, you gotta tone it back on some of these like sex jokes that you're making. And I was like, okay, it's just so easy though. It's just such a cheap
I know, it
joke.
is. It is. It is easy.
I
And
mean,
it's easy, but it's also easy for men to be insecure
My
about
best
it.
reel was the one that was a sex joke.
And that was
The
beautiful.
finishing the submissions.
God, that was beautiful.
It got copied by people who had more followers than me, so obviously theirs were more popular. But I'm like,
whatever.
you didn't do the joke right.
But it was gold. It was gold. I cried laughing when I...
My favorite was like Dallas had posted what in all caps, and it had like it immediately off the bat had like 50 likes. And then so we were like, he was like not the first thing that I see when I open up my feed. I don't know why I thought that one day, but when we were doing stuff, and I was like, I think it's also like maybe when I was taking pictures and someone like could just not finish a joke. And I'm like, look, I can't finish submissions, but
It's like, it doesn't matter if she doesn't.
Lucas is like, it
I was
doesn't.
like, if it doesn't matter if I finish.
What a typical man.
Yeah, I told Lucas because we also like when we make the sex jokes, we have to also figure out a way to be like respectful and like the relationship and all the other things. So he was like, it doesn't matter if I finish as long as she finishes every time. And like for that, like the submissions is like super accurate. So. But there's like, I mean, there's all the like top bottom jokes, like dick to mouth jokes and like all the other stuff. And
So many gay jokes.
so many gay jokes. And I'm like, I guess it's like also, yeah, like it's, but when we're doing it, were you ever uncomfortable with people when you first started rolling with them, or is that just me?
Oh, no, of course I was. Yeah. Especially mount. Are you kidding me?
The first thing that they
As a
teach
man?
you too is they're like, oh, you're going to learn how to defend yourself. A stranger's going to sit on top of you and you're going to learn to get out. I don't think we should ever start women in self-defense training with mount escapes,
Yeah.
even if they're another woman.
There
I feel
was,
like that's kind of weird.
I think when I was a white belt still, I was taking the basics class at Autos, and there was this girl there who I think maybe it was her first week, and we were just going through like, you know, all the different positions like closed guard and mount and in back. I was just showing her basically. I can't remember exactly what we were learning that day, but it did have something to do with mount. So I was showing her a little bit, and as soon as we started the active drills and I was on mount with her, she started having a panic attack, and I was like, oh no, like what did I do? Like, are you okay? And she starts having a panic attack, and she calls her husband over there, and I immediately get up and I'm like, oh my God, what did I do to her? You know? And
You're like this is something you do every single day, and then you're on top
this
of
was the
someone.
first time this ever happened to me. So I was like, what
And this
what
is
can
like her
I do?
first day.
No, it was her first week.
Okay,
It was
first week.
first week. I don't remember which day it was. It was so long ago. But she basically started having a panic attack, and I didn't know what to do. And when her husband came over there, I was like, I don't know what I did. Like, is she okay? And he said that her first marriage, she was very much abused, and there was like a lot of domestic violence in that, and And it took him a long time to convince her to do jujitsu at all. But he was like, you're going to learn a lot of self-defense and how to feel more comfortable, know how to at least get out of a dangerous situation. Because that's all really jujitsu is, like, or at least it should be in the streets, getting out of a dangerous situation, you know? So she eventually calmed down and, told me, like, it had nothing to do with you. It's just, I was abused. And it just, as soon as you got on top of me, it just gave me a PTSD moment.
Did she continue training or no?
I haven't seen her since, no, unfortunately.
But
honestly, I haven't seen him either.
They're like the ones who need it the most.
Exactly. Yeah.
This is also like, so I've been paying attention to this just from like, I did a couple like trial classes because my old gym was like very chaotic when it had like trial classes, and sometimes like the instructor wasn't there. And so I would take over the trial class because of need or whatever. And I like realized that people, and Lucas and I were like only worked with each other the first 12 to 16 weeks. Cause here's the thing. When you start a jujitsu class and they're like, we're going to do basics like close guard, like moving someone in close guard. The only time I've ever had my legs wrapped around a person, their dick was inside me.
Which is a little weird.
Which is a little weird. I mean, really. And I'm like, I'm not like.
You were in bottom missionary position.
Bottom missionary, as they have called it on some commentary. So like I started with close
that was
guard.
a shout out for them.
That was a shout out to the Atlanta Submission Series, who actually was originally scheduled this Friday. They're doing another season. Check them out if you want to look at the Submission Series for some hilarious commentary and some great matches in the Atlanta area. Season 1 and season 2 is on its way. So yes, I just remember like I was working with Lucas and my legs were around Lucas and I'm like, I could not do this with another human being because this is less weird. But I'm like, even with a girl, I'm like, literally, the only other time that you've wrapped your legs around a man's waist or any other person's waist is there's a dick inside me. So I was like, okay, I can't not think. And then you just think of all the jokes. Same thing with like, there's just so many things that you do and you're like, there's a joke here. Like you do like the nervous laugh and you're like that person.
It's awkward at first. It
Yeah.
really is. The first thing I learned, my first jiu-jitsu class ever was closed guard Kimura. So
like the Kimura hip bump.
Bottom missionary position.
It really is though. Oh, I hate that's what it's called.
As soon as I can't remember who said it, but as soon as they said that, I was like, I started thinking about it, and I was like, oh my god.
And then go.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Shut up, Lucas.
Close guard escape. I know you can't unsee it when you think about it.
I know.
Like mount as bad as mount is. Like I think of like even that I'm like, for the most part I'm like, this is definitely not the case if you think about striking and other things. But for myself, I escape from mount a lot better than I escape from close guard. I hate being inside someone's close guard more than if you're one of my competitors and you like
mounted.
listen to this, you're like, But I'm like, yeah, being mounted, I'm like, I'm pretty comfortable escaping that, like, and all the upgrades to it. I'm like close guard. I'm like, holy shit, I hate being here. And I'm pretty good at staying out of it, which is why when I find myself in it, I'm like, fuck. So I definitely need to like I think positional training is good because I do feel like I'm pretty good at staying out of it. So when I do get inside it.
It's so funny because we talk about positional stuff that we're doing. Who I think we're talking to Amon, and I was just like, yeah, I'm like, don't go fucking north-south on a girl for too long. And they're like, why? If you're cooking her, you're just winning. And I'm like, yeah.
Your dick is in their face.
But you're just like teabagging the girl for fucking 5 minutes.
God,
I'm like,
it's the
just
worst.
Like, yeah, like just move from the position, okay? Keep going.
Yes,
God, the amount of times I've
bottom
been
north-south
teabagged.
Kimura is bottom teabag. You have someone pinching you with... I'm like, also I think of this because I hit the north-south Kimura all the time. I'm like, fuck, my vagina's in their face. I'm like,
You just sit on their face, basically. It's
yeah,
crazy.
and you don't really think about it except there's like 1 to 2 times out of the month that you're like, do I want to put my vagina in someone's face directly, male or female? I don't think this is... we're trying not to make jiu-jitsu sexual, but this is, let's say you're a brand new person and you've never done this before. That's immediately where your mind goes to. Yeah. We had this friend who started jiu-jitsu with us, and like,
were they like, what the fuck did you get me into?
No, we all decided to do jiu-jitsu together. This is the hilarious part. We all walked into the same self-defense jiu-jitsu thing together. And this is like we had trained for the first month together. She actually came for almost 30 classes, like not consecutively, like maybe it was like 2 months she was there. Overall, I think she didn't make it to her first stripe, but she was like probably close to her first stripe. And so she had come to quite a few classes, and there was one class where he was like, "Have you ever been choked before?" And then she like looks at him and goes, "No."
She really had to think about it. That is so funny.
Or did she say yes? I don't know, but there was a whole lot of this before.
I
And it was like,
remember she was like thinking about what he was.
yeah.
What kind of choke?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. What are you?
What was the context?
Yeah.
What was the situation?
Have you ever? No. So I'm like,
That is funny.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
just,
explaining jujitsu to people, especially people like my parents. They just don't. They don't get it.
really? Okay.
just-
How
I
did this
just say-
conversation or how did this go when you like started and all this? I would love to hear your parents' perspective on this.
My parents, like when I first told them, like when
Yeah.
I first started,
Because my dad was in the military, so like when he found out we were doing this, he was so proud. But
I think the better example would be when they went to my first competition,
oh, that would be rough.
and they were like, "What the fuck is this?"
Luke's mom cried when she saw me
Like-
get really aggressively bow and arrow choked. She's like, I really
bow
thought
and
you were
arrow.
gonna get out of it.
Bow and arrow choke.
I was like, me too.
Yeah, well, the first competition I ever competed at, I mean, I was like 2 months in, so I lost, and
As we do.
as we do when we're only 2 months in, and
That's crazy that you did it at 2 months. I did it at 3 months, and I'm like, I didn't know what I do. I don't
Yeah.
even know why. Actually, I know why my instructor had us do it because he did stuff like that. But yeah, I'm very much like rip the Band-Aid off and go do a competition. But I'm like, if all you know, here's what's hard. If all you know is how to escape bad positions, then you're gonna find yourself in bad positions doing the thing you know how to do. And like, if you don't know how to stay in good positions and get to a submission, then I feel like bare minimum, if you're going to compete at a white belt, I could be wrong. I don't know how you feel about this. Escapes, and even if you don't know every escape, like breaking out a closed guard or mount escape is probably pretty important. Because even if you can't escape from side control, you were going to get mounted eventually, or it's going to, like, you need a couple escapes. You need to also be able to know how to, like, stay on top and finish something, or else, like, you're never going to win. So, like, I mean, literally, you can't get points if you don't have any single submission and you don't have
any sweeps or anything like that.
yeah, staying on top. I guess like if you can finish from close guard, but this is also what happened to me is I only could play close guard at my, like, I knew a couple close guard things. So every time someone swept me, it was like they got points, and then I was a white belt who couldn't finish anything from close guard. And I'm like, these are things that I'm like, okay, if you had to prepare your white belts for competition, you should really pick about the scoring system. Be like, what's the bare minimum to function in this sport? I did not have that. 2 months in, did you have that?
No, absolutely not.
Is this when you were training at your first gym? Mm-hmm. And they're just like, sign up, you're gonna be fine.
Yeah, they. I mean, I can see why he wanted me to go, because I mean, the experience is everything, you know.
Did you were you able to breathe well, or did you feel like that was a struggle for you? Because I could not breathe.
I couldn't breathe. The adrenaline dump was real.
That's the only thing that makes me think that I would do well in a real altercation. I always think that I would die. Very important when you train a long time. You always just assume that you're going to die. I think, because it's important. And then all my guy friends come on the show and they're like, I've been in so many fights and I've been great. So,
And
but
there's me who's never been in a fight.
I've never been in a fight. I hope I never am in a fight. And also at 125 pounds, you're like, I should never be in a fight. But I also like assume that I'm going to die. But if not, I think the thing that I would win on is the adrenaline dump that the other person's got.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've had so many competitions that, you know, who doesn't adrenaline dump anymore? This girl.
Yeah, definitely the first one was the worst, definitely. Especially I didn't warm up, like it's typical white belt shit, you know.
Hey,
2 month white belt.
I injured one of my knee ligaments at the Mimosa Festival because I dropped it like it's hot. And when you're in your 30s, apparently you need to be warmed up to be able to do that.
It's okay, girl. I feel you. I'm not 30 yet, and I'm the same way.
You'll remember.
Yeah, I mean, in my hip, but you know, it's been injured for a while.
Are you still doing the dry needling? Or?
I did while I was in Colorado. I did a different type of dry needling.
What
this
an
time.
update.
What an update. So this acupuncturist that I went to, she's in Golden, Colorado, which is like the nice mountainous areas, and I would love to move there. However,
Money is
those
money.
prices.
Money was no
Those
object.
prices.
You would.
Because it's in the mountains and it's beautiful and everyone wants to live there because it's fucking beautiful. And went on a date with a guy who lives there, and it was gorgeous where he lived.
This is one of the dates that we don't know the number.
What do you mean?
This is your third date? Same guy?
No, different guy.
Okay.
No. I did go on a couple dates with him though.
Okay.
Golden is very beautiful, but anyway, the acupuncturist was even more beautiful. She was awesome. Like the only type of dry needling that I've gotten done, which I think was on the last podcast episode, back when I was a brunette.
Back when she was a blue belt. A brunette blue belt.
A brunette blue belt. Now I am a blonde purple belt.
Well, actually, it's very sweet because Amon was like also going to do today because Stephanie's episode, by the time that this comes out, we will have finished our trip in Brazil, just about. And I was also going to have Amon come on it. And then he had like a scheduling thing. I was like, it's okay. Stephanie's coming as well today. And he goes, she deserves it. She just got her purple belt. She should talk. Yeah. So he's very proud that you got your purple belt.
He did post me too. So I felt I felt very, very, very happy about that.
Don't you love it when people in the community root for you?
Yes. It's weird.
It's weird, but it's also something
Because I've never had that.
I've never had it either. I'm like, it's very unique to the sport. Is like when people root for you is just very lovely.
Yeah, all the love and congratulations that I got afterward, like it was awesome. And even you being there, like, because I was like, hey, I might get promoted.
I didn't think I was gonna make the speech, and then she said it, and I like raised my hand like a kindergartner. I was so excited.
I know I was not prepared for that speech either. As Bruno was tying my belt,
he didn't have anybody else do a speech, which is like,
I know it's just because I was moving.
Yeah,
I think that's what it is. He just goes, she's moving, so she's gonna make a speech, and my face, I mean, you saw it. I was like, oh,
I have this
no,
on camera. Yes,
no,
we have what her face looks
absolutely
like.
not.
I was like, here's all these like
prepared.
people smiling and looking real pretty in their promotion pictures. Then she's got this face like, what?
What? No, I wasn't prepared at all. Like I mean, you know, like traditionally,
Stephanie the introvert.
It's Stephanie the introvert. Traditionally, you don't really make a speech until you get your black belt. So I was
My gym always did
traditionally.
speeches.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah.
Both places
mine
that
never
I got.
did.
I mean, I've only been through one promotion, but I've seen speeches
Gotcha.
for all of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it just depends on the gym, yeah. Oh, I wasn't expecting it at all because he's never done that with anyone else. So unless they get their black belt,
And then some places also do like the throw. Like some people will do the throw. Some people will beat you with the belt.
I'm assuming that that's gonna happen to me in Brazil, especially with Jucal being so happy that I got promoted.
He also put that in the group chat, which is so sweet too.
He did.
Yeah.
Very nice of him. He messaged me too and congratulated me. So
There's only
felt the
4
love.
color belts in jiu-jitsu that could take anywhere from 2 to 15 years to acquire. And so I'm like,
So it's an accomplishment.
It's a huge accomplishment because I think it's something like only 10% of people who train get a blue belt, and only 10% of those people, or maybe it's even less, even get a purple belt. So Stephanie is one of the very few in America, like in the world, because it's not just the United States, but like Stephanie is one of the few people who's made it past the blue belt blues and all of the things. And I also think it's like even more challenging when you're a woman because women like give birth and get married and like all these other things that can also interrupt training in a way that I don't think like men also have to deal with.
I mean, yeah, I still got interrupted with training with certain jobs that I had. The hours that demanded of me.
Unprecedented pandemic.
The pandemic was a huge thing. But mostly it was my hip injury. It took me out for almost a year.
That's like since last year too, right? Mm-hmm. Did they ever like actual diagnose it as a tear or like what?
Yes, so I did end up getting an MRI and there's some tearing in my labrum. So it's nothing that they can really cure.
Without surgery, or can they cure it with surgery?
We didn't really talk about surgery, so I'm not really sure.
Okay.
But his solution was getting just like a steroid shot. never ended up going through with it, only because I was sick the week that I was supposed to get it.
One of our friends
never
actually
did.
just got a steroid shot from the place that does all the MMA people, and he was like, I feel so much better from even last week. And I was like,
Well, even from the needling, I feel so much better. Oh, I was supposed to talk about that.
yeah, okay, needling. Sorry. Full circle.
The dry needling,
whole
the dry
tangent.
needling in Golden, Colorado.
And it's different than here
it was
somehow.
it was different. Just with this specific person. She is specifically an acupuncturist, not a physical therapist. She put some needles in my feet and even one in my ear, which was interesting. But
On the inside of it or the outside of it?
like near the cartilage, like on my not earlobe, but where like a piercing would be. It didn't hurt at all. Let's
She
see.
says this.
It did. You know how much of a pussy I am when it comes to pain, and
You
it
know how
didn't
I am
hurt.
with needles.
I know, and it did hurt a little bit. But what was different about the trigger point needling versus this, with the trigger point needling specifically, she would just kind of the physical therapist that I went to, she would just kind of pinch a trigger point, which was the knot in the muscle, and get a needle in there just to kind of dig it out, just to release it. However, with this other woman, the acupuncturist, she put the needle in kind of like halfway through, so I could still feel it in my muscle, but then she put electricity through it, and it kind of helped
Like relax the muscle.
It helped it relax, and not in like a
It like coaxed it out like warm. Like
Yes.
a warm compress. But like instead of being
it wasn't
like
too
aggressive.
harsh. It wasn't too harsh, you know, I wasn't as sore as I lived because when I left from the acupuncturist versus when I left from the physical therapist, because, you know, it wasn't going through as much trauma and, you know, but with that one, I really liked that one. It did take a lot longer because, you know, she wants it to kind of pulse through it and kind of relax through for about 10 minutes. So it did last a little bit longer, and I did kind of have to sit there and kind of deal with it. But I feel so much better. I felt so much better after I left. Like, it was a different type of dry needling, but I really liked it a lot. And I'm definitely going to go back to her when I go back.
Maybe this is what I'll have to start with. Is like the better
Yeah,
dry needling.
I think that was definitely more manageable, especially with people with low pain tolerances.
Was the results the same?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was about
Okay.
the same.
Well, then
'Cause-
that's a great follow-up on this. We have hit our time. My husband has told me. Stephanie, where can they find you if you want to be found?
Steph underscore Lightfoot BJJ.
And we're about to go to Brazil, so I'm sure we're going to have stories to do a follow-up episode before the end of the
Yes,
year. I'm
episode
hoping.
3, here we come.
Wish us luck. This might be the last time you hear from us because
That is not true.
that
We're
is
going to
not
be
true.
fine.
We're going to be fine, and we're going to have so many stories. Thanks for listening. Like and subscribe.